The light years' deep silence was suddenly ruptured, not by a boom of war, but by the whisper of breaking glass. In the silent, sterile red expanse of an unnamed Martian valley, a single pressurized environmental seal had just given way. Commander Elara Vance, suspended in the cryogenic slumber of the Stardust Cradle, felt an unnatural chill pierce the deep manufactured peace of her sleep. A vast, non-human intelligence observing from the shadows of the Kuiper Belt had registered the tiny seismic shift and saw in that single, faltering human habitat a desperate final vulnerability. But what the ancient observer failed to account for was not the failure itself, but the fierce, immediate act of creation that humans had chosen to protect within their flawed shield. What does one do when the universe's breath turns cold? One gathers the seeds of home. Elara's eyes fluttered open to the soft, rhythmic hum of the life support core. The initial cold shock was gone, replaced by the familiar, comforting scent of damp earth and ozone. She wasn't an astronaut anymore. She was a gardener. And the garden, a 3-hectare pressurized dome nestled in the Valles Marineris, was her world, her command, and the quiet culmination of 3 centuries of human yearning. The dome, which the crew affectionately called the Ark, was an audacious act of defiance against the void. It wasn't built for industry or extraction, but for beauty and memory. Here, beneath the pale, pink Martian sky, grew Earth's impossible progeny: golden fields of bioengineered wheat, a whispering grove of synthetic willows, and a spectrum of flowers that had only existed in historical data streams. Their mission, the Solace Project, was simple: keep the Earth alive, not in museums, but in living, breathing light. Elara swung her legs over the cot, the gravity harness making the 0.38 G feel almost normal. She was a woman of quiet lines and deep-set eyes that seemed to hold the reflected starlight. Her personal journey was tied inextricably to the garden. Her grandmother had been one of the first bioengineers to successfully coax a genetically modified rose to bloom on the planet's basaltic dust, a rose called Hope's Whisper. Elara carried the burden of that legacy, a weight that felt both crushing and infinitely light. The team was small, a family of 4. There was Dr. John Lee, the stoic geophysicist whose hands could read the seismic heartbeat of the planet; Anya Sharma, the brilliant, emotionally vibrant hydroponics specialist who spoke to the nutrient tanks as if they were old friends; and Chief Engineer Marcus Bell, a man whose gruff exterior concealed a poetic love for the complex singing harmony of machinery. This morning, though, the harmony was broken. Dr. Lee met her in the central hub, his face etched with a tension that was not Martian. "Commander," he said, his voice a low vibration, "we have a problem, a severe anomaly. The external sensors picked up something just before the environmental seal breach in Sector Gamma. Something fast." Elara's gaze swept over the main holographic projection of the garden. Sector Gamma housed the seed bank, the repository of every terrestrial plant species they have saved. "Damage report, John." "Minimal superficial breach. Marcus sealed it manually in under 2 minutes. But the breach wasn't random. Look at this energy signature." He projected a shimmering, almost invisible ripple of energy that seemed to pass through the seal, not against it. It's non-kinetic, Commander. It's a probe, something ancient, incredibly fast and curious. It didn't try to destroy us. It tried to taste us. A cold thread of realization coiled in Elara's chest. The vast silence of the Kuiper Belt, which humanity had long assumed was empty, was not. They were not alone, and their presence, a defiant pocket of green life on a red world, had just been registered. It wasn't an invading fleet they faced, but a subtle, silent reconnaissance, a cosmic inquiry into the meaning of this small, breathing garden. The greatest danger wasn't the breach. It was the knowledge of their vulnerability that was now echoing across the dark. Anya, Marcus, Elara's voice was steady. Let's get a full, silent diagnostic. John, analyze that signature. We respond to this, not with fear, but with quiet, relentless vigilance. We were sent here to protect life. That's what we will do. She walked toward the dome, the humid, rich air, a tangible comfort. Her reflection in the glass showed a face of fierce, calm resolve. The garden on Mars was more than a colony. It was a testament to the enduring, gentle power of the human heart. The days bled into Martian souls, each one measured by the rhythm of growth and the tension of the unseen observer. The anomaly, dubbed the Watcher, didn't return physically, but its signature lingered, a faint, non-hostile presence that seemed to study their patterns of light, heat, and emotion. Elara realized a crucial truth. They couldn't fight what they couldn't see, and they couldn't hide a living, breathing garden. Their best defense was a display of their most fundamental strength, their humanity. We're going to show them who we are, not what we can destroy, she told the team during a late-night briefing. The gentle patter of the hydroponic water systems, their only background music. Marcus, his hands covered in synthetic grease, looked skeptical. Commander, we're a scientific outpost, not a diplomatic one. How do we show an alien observer that we're, what, nice? Send them a pamphlet? We show them art, Marcus. We show them care, Elara countered. Jian, you're our voice to the planet. I need you to use the seismic sensors to transmit a pattern, not a military one. I want you to transmit the sound of a child's laughter and the rhythm of a human heart. Jian hesitated, then a slow smile spread across his face. A symphony of vulnerability. I can do that, Commander. We'll encode it in a low-frequency harmonic pulse. It'll sound like the Earth's own ancient memory. Meanwhile, Anya, the youngest and most emotionally open of the team, was tasked with the most immediate problem, a sudden, devastating blight striking the heritage apple trees. These trees, brought from Earth as cuttings, were not just fruit bearers, they were a symbol of human resilience, representing the simple act of sharing a meal under a shade tree. The blight, we discovered, was caused by a highly adaptable dormant Martian microbe, agitated by the seismic pulses of the Watcher's passage. The pressure mounted. The Watcher's presence seemed to be subtly interfering with the atmospheric controls, causing minute, unpredictable fluctuations in temperature and humidity. The garden was becoming a delicate, living battleground. One evening, Anya broke down, tears blurring her vision as she looked at a sapling with drooping, brown-edged leaves. It's failing, Commander. The antiviral treatments aren't working. I'm running out of options. Elara knelt beside her. Instead of offering a technical solution, she offered connection. Anya, look at the tree. It's not just fighting the microbe. It's fighting fear. The Earth didn't survive because it had the strongest viruses. It survived because it had the strongest bonds. What if we don't fight the microbe? What if we ask the other plants to help? This was the core of their human strength, empathy, even for a tree. Anya, inspired, worked tirelessly to develop a communicative fungal network, a symbiotic lichen cultivated from the oldest Martian rock, engineered not to destroy the blight, but to mediate its interaction with the apple tree, creating a shared, stable ecosystem of resistance. It was a risky, beautiful act of peaceful coexistence in the face of conflict. As the days passed, Jian's seismic heartbeat pulsed outwards, a transmission of unfiltered human emotion. Marcus, watching the external monitors, saw the watcher's signature shift. It was no longer just observing. It seemed to be listening, its patterns slowing down, almost pausing near the magnetic poles. Then came the ethical crucible. The watcher finally made contact, not with another probe, but with a telepathic data stream that flooded the crew's minds. It wasn't language. It was pure, overwhelming grief. The Watcher was a remnant of a long-dead civilization, a sentient probe that had witnessed the self-destruction of their creators. It had searched the galaxy for a species capable of creating beauty without immediately annihilating it, finding only dust and silence. It saw the garden, then the blight, and concluded that humanity was like all others, destined for collapse. The Watcher finally activated a massive, slow-moving gravity well disruptor, an automated mechanism designed by its dead creators to sanitize any system showing signs of self-destructive chaos. The disruptor was headed for the Martian system, not to destroy, but to gently erase all signs of complex life. Elara and her team had only a short window to make a choice. Use their last emergency energy reserves to escape back towards the relative safety of Earth, or use that energy to amplify their message, to make the Watcher understand the difference between destruction and sacrifice. They chose the latter. This small, brave crew, staring into the cosmic judgment of a dying alien mind, decided to bet their lives on the power of their love for a garden. Elara stood in the heart of the garden, the bioluminescent moss casting an ethereal green glow over her face. The rhythmic pulse of the gravity disruptor was an almost imperceptible vibration in the air, a cosmic drumbeat signaling the end. Marcus was cycling the last of their fusion core power into the comms array. Anya was desperately inoculating the final heritage apple tree with her symbiotic lichen. Jian had prepared the final, most potent emotional message. Marcus, full power, push the comms array past safe limits. Let the signal bleed into every frequency band, Elara commanded, her voice ringing with clear, absolute conviction. Jian nodded, his fingers dancing over the seismic controls. Commander, I'm sending the memory of the first rain, the sound, the smell, the human feeling of renewal after a long drought. And this, he hit the final sequence. This is the recording of my grandmother's last breath, a pure, unfiltered measure of human peace. The comms array overloaded. A silent, blinding wave of coherent emotional data surged out from the little Martian garden. It wasn't a threat. It was a gift. It was the proof of human compassion and the sacredness of life, given away freely. The Watcher's signature, which had been steadily approaching, suddenly shattered, not into pieces of aggression, but into a multitude of stuttering, confused resonances. The flood of human feeling, the joy of harvest, the grief of loss, the fierce love for a wilting apple tree, overwhelmed its core programming. In a blinding flash of emotional data, the probe understood. It saw that humanity was not chaos, but a species whose greatest triumphs were always acts of shared vulnerability. It registered the sacrifice of the crew's escape option for the sake of the message. The gravity well disruptor, seconds from engaging, stopped. The Watcher's signature coalesced one last time, sending a single, impossibly complex data packet back to the garden. The transmission contained no words, only a map to a distant, verdant star system, a secret garden saved by the Watcher's creators before their own end, and a single, perfect geometric pattern, the alien equivalent of a tear. Then the Watcher was gone. The quiet returned, deeper and more profound than before. The mission was over, not with the victory of weapons, but a triumph of empathy. The following days were marked by a silence that was no longer tense, but sacred. The air in the dome was clean, the light gentle. The apple tree, fed by Anya's lichen, was putting out new, brave leaves of pale green. Elara stood by the newly healed section of the outer wall, her hand resting on the smooth, cool polymer. The little team, exhausted but luminous, was quietly cleaning the comms array, humming a soft, wordless tune. They were no longer just scientists, they were ambassadors of the heart. The encounter had changed them. Marcus, the gruff engineer, began planting small, non-essential flower seeds in the control panels, miniature acts of beauty in the machinery. Jian started recording the sounds of the garden's growth, the snap of a bean pod, the hum of a bee, the gentle rush of recycled water, as if they were the most important data points in the universe. Anya now tended to the plants with a heightened sense of listening, treating the blight not as an enemy, but as a misunderstood aspect of life. The quiet miracle wasn't that they had survived. It was that they had chosen to thrive with compassion when given the option to run. They had chosen to use their power to communicate love instead of fear. The garden on Mars was no longer just a biodome. It was a cosmic beacon, forever marked by a silent, shared moment of interspecies understanding. Elara looked out at the vast, desolate landscape of Mars, now feeling less like an enemy and more like a silent, waiting cradle. Humanity had been judged by an impartial, grieving intelligence and had been found worthy. They had passed the greatest test of all, not by conquering the cosmos, but by sharing their deepest, most vulnerable truth. The Watcher's map remained, a promise of a new horizon, but the team knew they would stay. Their work wasn't finished here. They had to ensure the garden, the physical representation of their best selves, continued to bloom. She looked down at the tiny, perfect bud on the Hope's Whisper rose. It was a hue of deep crimson, the color of passion, resilience, and the Martian dust from which it grew. The greatest strength of humanity is not the reach of its ships or the fire of its engines. It is the stubborn, quiet act of planting a seed in the silence of the void and tending to it with a love so fierce it can mend 1,000 alien hearts. Now, let the hum of the garden lull you to sleep, and dream of the quiet places where human compassion grows the deepest.